Hello friends and welcome to my second video, and today we are going to see a game between Sasikiran and Wang who have just retired just a month ago. So Wang is white and Sasikiran is black. So let us begin this interesting game. And Wang starts with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and Wang chooses the Scotch game, e into d4, knight into d4, and here many players play bishop to c5 as well as knight to c6, knight to f6. So Sasikiran chooses knight to f6, knight into c6, and d into c6 is an interesting variation as queen into queen, king into queen, and you can see this bishop is also open and the pawn structure is also not damaged. But the king have lost the castling, but it doesn't matter because the queens are off the boards. And here bishop to g5 is pinning the king. So here if h6, then bishop into f6, then g into f6, and you can see this pawn structure have damaged. So bishop to e7 and start blocking the pin, and knight to c3 protecting the pawn. So and the line continues like that. So let's continue with the line which Sasikiran have played. Knight into c6, b into c6, and now you can see that there are 3 pawn islands and this pawn is isolated, which is a major damage in endgame. But yeah, one good thing is rook is getting a semi-open file if it comes on b8. So one continues with e5, b into e7, pinning the king, so pawn can't take the knight. Queen to e2, blocking the pin. Knight to d5 and c4, and Wang tells that I'm not letting your knight to be stable in a position. So knight to b6, knight to c3, and you can see that white is just dominating the center as pawn and knight are controlling the d5 square, pawn and queen controlling the e4 square, queen and this pawn on e5 is controlling the e5 square, and d6 and f6 are also controlled by the pawn on e5. So let's continue. Bishop to b7 with an idea of c5 in future and opening this bishop's diagonal. Here Wang played bishop to d2, but he could have played b3, and you can see that bishop is getting more options to go, like a4, and bishop to a3 can also come, and bishop to b2 is also there, and like before options are there, bishop to e3 and bishop to f4 are from before. Right. So g6 with an idea of bishop to g7 and pressuring this pawn on e5. So like prophylaxis, we can play f4, and you can see this pawn is protected and solidified the position. Bishop to g7 as the plan, and a4 with the idea of a5, and as well as bishop to a3 and attacking the queen. So here queen to b4 is not in such a good move because queen to c2 and black is not doing so well, and a5 is a good move and it's stopping a5 also. So bishop to a3 attacking the queen, then c5 again a good move because it's opening the light square bishop of black and blocking the dark square bishop of white. So let's continue with the main line. So here Wang played bishop to d2 with an idea of long castling, and f4 and g3 and bishop to g2 may be one idea, or queen to f3 and bishop to d3, long castling, and king to b8, then f3, f4 as I said, f6, king to f6, and queen f7 played by Sasikiran, but better was queen into f6, knight to e4, queen to f7, knight to g5, queen to f6 and g3, c5, opening this diagonal and attacking the rook. So bishop to g2, bishop into g2, queen into g2, and black's problem is knight on g5 because it is very well and like a monster for black. So h6 removing this knight, first attacking the queen by bishop to c3, queen moves to f5, and then knight to f3. So let's see what Sasikiran have played. Knight queen to f7, and this loses a pawn, which is f into g7, bishop into g7, and this bishop does not compensate the pawn. So c5 now blocking a very good move because it's blocking pressure. c4 again a very good move because it's spinning this queen as well as protecting the pawn. Queen to f6, removing the pin, and now g4 with an idea of g5. As you can see, this if this knight cannot move because of the spin. That spin means meeting threat. Rook to e8, rook h to e8, and g5, removing the queen from this diagonal. Queen to f8, and then bishop to d3, attacking the pawn on h7. d6, c into d6, now attacking the queen. Queen to c5, and now rook into d6. And now here bishop into h7 is a blunder because rook into d2, queen into queen is forced. Rook into d1, rook into d1, and now black is having to one bishop. So here Wang played queen to f5, pressuring this pawn more. So c5 attacking the rook on h1, rook h to e1, rook to d8, rook e to d8. Now queen into queen, bishop into queen, and here bishop to e4 here, but bishop into h7 is also very good move because knight to c4 is coming, bishop to e3, then rook into d1, knight into d1, and this position is good for white. But here bishop to e4, knight to d3, attacking the bishop. So Wang played bishop into b7, king into b7, and knight to e4, attacking the rook on d6 and protecting the bishop on d2. So rook to d3, bishop to c3, and then king to c6. Here Wang played h4, but I think better was rook into d3, and simplifying the position. So h4, then rook to d5. Sasikiran's idea was rook to f3, then rook to f5, and grabbing this pawn. So knight to f6, attacking the rook, rook into rook, rook into, and then rook to f5, attacking the knight and the pawn as well. So knight into pawn on h7. So here if rook into f4, then knight into f8, rook into f8, and you can see these pawns are just passing. So played bishop to d6 and means attacking the pawn. So played king to b1 as a prophylaxis. If bishop takes this pawn, then it would give a check. So he moved the king first. Rook into f4, g6, rook into h4, and then rook to g1, and in this move Sasikiran resigned because of this pawn is running and unstoppable. So how was the game? And if it was a very beautiful game, then please like and share.